Good evening, morning, afternoon, night, whenever you find it most convenient to listen to this quick fire. I, as always, am Alan, the Pull with the Goal, joined by DJ.
Hello there.
As well as Tim.
Hey, everyone.
Yep. So let's get right down to the point. Let's get quick because this is a quick fire. The Fire have today, as of recording, have officially launched the new secondary jersey, the municipal kit jersey. It features like the municipal device, the Ys are supposed to represent the branches of the Chicago River. Its blue is supposed to represent like the color of the river and everything like that. It also has like a little 312 in the bottom corner, which is the downtown Chicago area code. I think it's all right. What do you guys think?
I mean, I have no strong. I'll be honest. I saw this. I was like, it's neither good nor bad. It's not like Minnesota's Twilight jersey from a while back, but it's not terrible. It's not like they just put the Fire logo on a white T-shirt like a few years ago.
Yeah, the plain white tee.
I honestly kind of thought at first that might actually be better than what we're seeing. Not gonna lie, but just because I really didn't like the pattern, I don't like that the logo is monochrome. Seeing some of the press shots of it, it looks better in the press shots. At least the authentic one, the quote unquote replica one, I like even less. It doesn't have the like red piping and detailing, or like jock patch, I guess is what it's called, that the authentic one does. And so I think that makes a big difference here. Does it make it worth $150? I don't know. But I'm going to kind of reserve until we get to see it in person, which is happening this Saturday when the team is having a launch party at Saturday's football in Wicker Park. Because if you can see the pattern clearly, I like it a lot more. If the pattern just kind of fades into nothing, then it's kind of meh. And I don't like that it's monochrome and it's almost like just give me a plain white tee with the colored logo and I'd like it fine.
I mean, I have to agree with you, Tim, because I think it was 2 seasons ago where the Chicago Bulls had a city edition jersey with the municipal device in a very similar way, but it was a lot more clearer, and the colors also just worked better. As you mentioned, the monochrome, it's and also like near where the shoulders go into the armpits, like navy blue. I don't know.
The Adidas template this year with those kind of like weird slashy things that almost make it look like what they would do to like women's cuts of like women's editions of jerseys for a while, where they would try to like overly emphasize the fact that it's getting cut in and flaring out at the hip some. It has that effect. But like again, I'm gonna like hold off on ultimate judgment until we get to see it in person and actually like also see it on a broadcast, because that's obviously the way that more people will be seeing it more of the time than anything else. And so if it looks good on TV, great. If it doesn't look good on TV, then it's sort of like it doesn't really matter as much what it looks like up close.
Yeah, plus I'm pretty sure most people have already had some sort of early impression because this kit was leaked a while back. All right, moving onwards. From the jersey to some transfer news, the Chicago Fire recently signed Omar Gonzalez. Why don't you guys take us through that?
The Fire signed center back Omar Gonzalez.
There you go. Thank you, Tim.
The Fire had him training, and I remember me and Tim actually talked about it. It's like, is he training because we think he's going to be like a decent player to keep around to help them out while they get everybody ready, and that way he has some move, he can like play better for another team that comes in? Or is he just, hey Gomar, you want to sign for us? And
I think that pretty clearly what was going on. We were told he was, quote, not a trialist when we asked, because we saw him at training and we were like, that tall guy is new, but he looks familiar. And is that Omar Gonzalez? And we're like, yeah, that's Omar Gonzalez. So he's a 36-year-old now, played in the U.S. men's national team setup for a number of years, which is maybe where a lot of people know him most from. Especially, he was unfortunately responsible for the own goal in Cuba against Trinidad, or I guess for Trinidad and Tobago, that helped keep the United States out of the 2018 World Cup. Although, like, obviously, for it to get to that point where that last game mattered, meant a lot had already gone wrong. So I don't think you can put all of it on him by any stretch of the imagination. But he's a veteran. He's also, an MLS Cup winner. He's won the Gold Cup. He's had a lot of success. He was, I believe, Rookie of the Year when he came into the league. So,
Yes.
he has a pedigree with him, but also he just has a strong veteran presence. And there's not a lot of other players on the roster that have that, especially, like there's players that are like 30, like Philip Zinkernagel, but he's brand new to the league. Omar Gonzalez is not. He's played almost his whole career here. He played in Mexico for a little bit of time. And so I think that will really help. And, talking to Greg about him a little bit, he said, he's always the first guy, like since he's been here, he's been the first guy in training, and he's, training until everyone else leaves. So like that says a lot about the veteran presence that he can bring.
Veteran presence.
So yeah, I mean, it is valuable, and like the team did need depth at center back, and I think that he's going to be a versatile option. I think we'll have to wait and see what his salary number ends up hitting at, in comparison to say what like Wyatt Omsberg's does, to see how much we like to move, and we'll get an idea of how he plays for the Fire at that point as well. But because that would be sometime in like typically April, but I think it's a solid move.
I do say I think Gonzalez is the guy who I don't expect him to be playing every game unless he like becomes really good. But if you get 10, 15 games out of Gonzalez and the rest of the time you just see him helping everyone around him, then that's a really good signing.
I miss Wyatt Omsberg.
Yeah.
That's just me. I mean,
Now
I'm
we
pretty
have
sure
Sam
there's
Rogers.
True. So, we can confirm, and by we I mean MIR97, we can report and confirm from our sources, being us, that the Fire are signing Christopher Cupps to a first team deal. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, he's another strong center back signing. He's 16 years old. He's going to be turning 17, I believe, in May.
Yes.
But, sometimes like 16-year-old, like, you see them, some of them look like, you're like, how are you older than 12? And some of them look kind of like men, and he's one of the ones that looks like a man. He's been really impressive in preseason. Asked Jack Elliott about him. He has been impressed both with his defensive abilities and his like strength on the ball and stuff like that, but also with his ability to play the ball forward with his feet. And that's something that modern center backs do that, frankly, we haven't seen enough of from both the Fire or players in the U.S. youth national team setup or the U.S. men's national team setup either. It went from being a position of strength to being a position of like kind of relative weakness in the player pool. He's currently with the U.S. Y17s, so that says something about like the way that he's valued there.
Is that the same U.S. youth national team that defeated the Virgin Islands 22-0?
Well, they started out Virgin. I'm not sure that they ended up that way after that kind of an L.
Dirty jokes always welcome here.
But yeah, that would be the same ones. It's a good move, and we don't know exactly where he's going to fit on the roster. It is a first team deal. My assumption right now would be that he would be an off-roster homegrown, just like Robert Jardine, where that would allow him to play up to 6 games in MLS and unlimited games in other competitions. So that would be, the U.S. Open Cup for the Fire this year. But we'll see. That could, the Fire's roster could move around, and he could be in a first-team roster spot on the supplemental roster and getting real minutes and having an opportunity to play for the Fire every day. I suspect he'll also see a lot of time with the Fire too.
Swinging. Our last bit of Fire transfer news to mention. This news dropped fairly recently, but it's something that I feel like everyone saw coming. The Fire have used their buyout on Arnaud Souquet, who was not included in Greg Werhalter's plan pretty much since the beginning of preseason. Even much to his surprise when he saw someone else wearing the number 2. Wait, who's wearing number 2 again? I forgot. Who was it?
Barroso.
Yes.
Barroso, and I will say I don't think he was surprised by that. I think he just wanted to make a joke.
Yeah, I guess. It was kind of interesting. He's like, who's going to tell me that my number is taken? And it's like, yeah, by the way.
Well, in Sukei's, to his credit, it's not like this is the first time this has happened to him. Where he didn't train with it. He didn't train with the team for pretty much all of preseason last year. The team had been trying to move him on since before that, really. And then he ended up making his way back into the squad, which honestly worked out pretty well for the team because of injuries they had at the opposite position on the left. And just needing bodies, I think, helped. But he was never able to live up to his salary. So by the time this episode's out, there's going to be content on Minute Red 97 about the buyout and an updated roster tracker showing how everything fits. Because of MLS roster rule changes this year, the team does have one additional buyout that they can use. So they retain an option to move another player on. So Sukei has now been placed on waivers. Just to make that clear, he will be eligible to play for, or other MLS teams will be eligible to pick him up. And it's basically, there's an order for the first 48 hours and it's first come, first serve. It doesn't matter from the Fire for a cap perspective because he doesn't have a cap hit and he doesn't occupy a roster spot anymore, but they do have to pay him his whole salary this year. If a team does select him off of waivers, then whatever fraction of his salary they offer, the Fire would no longer be in the hook for, so that would save them, physical money, but not cap space or allocation money.
MLS roster rules.
Wait, didn't they buy him out? I thought that since they bought him out, there's no effect.
He doesn't occupy a roster slot anymore, and he doesn't have a cap hit, but the Fire they still promised him his wages for the year. So like $700,000 basically. They've got to write a check to him. But if Sukei is picked up off waivers, and say some team offers, I don't know, $15K over the senior minimum, so like $115,000 a year, the amount the Fire would have to pay out is reduced by that amount.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a guaranteed contract, right? So like Sukei is owed the money per the contract. He's getting the money. It's just if another team picks him up, it's not him choosing at this point. Other MLS teams can unilaterally select him. I don't know what his plans are, or what his plans were. He and his family apparently have really loved it in Chicago. They've been active around the city. He moved them to Chicago basically immediately after signing, which is rare for a lot of players. I mean, it's just hard to move kids at that time of year. So I think that he wanted to stick around the city. I think the team almost secondarily to that, if I'm being honest. He's got a green card. He would be eligible to get citizenship if he sticks around the U.S. and plays anywhere or does other things for the next couple of years. It typically takes around 5 years for that to happen. But again, the ball is out of his court now, and any MLS team, including those in Canada, can select him, and he basically has no say in where he goes.
All right. So moving away from transfer moves to some news of preseason. Since we last had an episode, the Fire have played 3 games. They played one against LAFC, they played against Portland and San Jose. The first one, they lost to LAFC. I believe it was 1-0. It was a penalty. Portland, they drew 0-0. And then the game against San Jose, it was a first half thriller.
I want to point something out. The San Jose game, the Fire lost. The Fire won 5-1. The last time the Fire faced San Jose, or one of the last times they faced San Jose at Buckshaw, I think it was, they lost to the San Jose 5-1. So this is revenge for the Buckshaw Open Cup defeat.
Yeah, that's the last time they faced San Jose outside of MLS because they did play them last year.
No, I mean, no, not in Open Cup, it was MLS. But no, this was Buckshaw Stadium. The OG bad stadium.
Right. I'm saying that like the Fire played San Jose last year.
Yes,
Also
but they
love-
weren't at Buckshot.
Okay, but they weren't at Buckshot in Indio, California either.
Exactly.
All right, you lost me.
Never mind. Tim is confused by DJ's autism. Don't worry.
Why are we talking about Buckshot? Can we never mention Buckshot again?
I'm sure not to personally.
Anyways, yeah, it was a great outing for the Fire. It was braces in the first half by Jonathan Bamba, who opened his account with the Fire, even though it's preseason, so it doesn't really count. And Brian Gutierrez, both looked like they were flying. Sergio Orahel looked like he was flying. A lot of players around him, like just the whole squad, looked so much better than they have in years. And so, sure, it's preseason. It doesn't really matter, and you don't know who you're facing. And I would expect that the San Jose Earthquakes will be better by the time the games that matter roll around. But, it was still good to see, and it was still a more coherent plan in the attack than we've seen from the team in a very long time.
Amen, I say to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the strikers were uninvolved in pretty much every game.
So Hugo Kuipers has been, we're about to get into this, but Hugo Kuipers has been injured throughout preseason. He's expected to be available to play against Columbus when the actual season starts. So it has been it was mostly Tom Barlow playing, and then Bolts has been getting time as well. It would have been better to have them involved, I think, but I mean, you can't complain with 5-1. And the 5-1 score, the Fire felt, or Greg felt confident enough to bring a lot of the starters off earlier than what we saw from Bruce Arena. And so I don't necessarily, want to read too much into that, because not only does that mean that your striker isn't the striker that would start if Kuipers was injured is off the pitch, but it also means that the service that guy is getting has also changed, because you've got a lot of the time it's literally been teenagers that are getting first team minutes, which is good to see, but also not the same kind of thing.
Yeah, a bit different. So the Fire is going to finish up the preseason before their season opener against Columbus. They got a game against the Galaxy as well as the Vegas Lights. So we got those two games. Do we know
the Vegas game is one day after? It's not at Coachella. It's one day after the game against the Galaxy, which is their final game at Coachella. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of expecting a split squad thing. It wouldn't surprise me if against the USL side, the Fire are playing mostly second team, Fire 2 team, and even academy, like a lot of academy players who don't have Fire 2 deals. So
yeah. So,
sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, always good to get minutes nonetheless. Just really quickly between all of us, from this preseason, sort of who's impressed, who hasn't been really impressed, sort of like one person for each of us. For me, I mean, I've only been able to see the San Jose game, but of course the new guys of Zinkernagel and Bamba have been, I mean, that was a really fun game to watch, and especially on the counterattack. I love counterattacking soccer, and a lot of those actions just were, it was beautiful to watch. It was just something that I feel like the team's been lacking. I mean, you could also argue that A, it's preseason, B, it's San Jose, who haven't been also the strongest team, but it was just fun to watch.
I will say, I think Orahel definitely has impressed, but at the same time, I have really been disappointed in Bolts. Like, Bolts is the one young guy that it just doesn't look good with him.
I would agree with that. I mean, he is a super draft pick, so you get variable quality there. Having said that, it is a position where you do find guys that become not just like bit players in MLS, but like starters that people talk about. Guys like Daryl DK a couple of years ago was sort of in that position, as was Patrick Ajamong. Now, both of those were drafted in the super draft and then signed by the teams. Bolts is a generation Adidas player. So he's a couple years younger than them. So he still has time to develop. But I mean, as it stands now, he does not look like someone that is really ready for MLS minutes. So it wouldn't surprise me if he spent the year either with Fire 2 or potentially out on loan somewhere else. We'll have to see what happens with that.
This of course brings up the question of if Bolts isn't ready for minutes and Barlow isn't really doing much, what happens?
Well, I think we saw the plan, right, with Greg's system. I mean, it's designed. Greg's systems have always been very striker friendly in that they make things easy for a striker. But what you're also doing is getting, dynamic players on the wing that can either create for others or finish chances themselves. And, attack from the midfield coming up, as well as like your fullbacks really kind of working as like true wing backs, or at least one of them will, and one of them may kind of stay a little bit further deep. And I think that that's what we'll see, if the roster stays the way that it is by opening day, which it probably will. And if it sticks that way, the window is open through April, so that the team can continue to make changes through late April. But yeah, I just want to echo what you said about Sergio Orhel Jr., because he's been a heralded player at the youth national team level, but was not able to get first team minutes in anything close to a regular cadence over the past few years. He has looked phenomenal. He's also looked just bigger, and I mean, he is bigger, like he's growing up, like physically. He's certainly bulked up in the offseason, and also faster. So this could be a surprise breakout year for him. I think Brian Gutierrez is the same thing. Like, Gutierrez looks like he's going to be Greg's go-to number 10 throughout the season. And that doesn't necessarily mean the offense is built around him, but it means that the team doesn't go that far if Guti is not really contributing, like scoring the goals that we saw last year, but also doing a lot more to help others score and create. So last year he had a career high in goals. The season before that, his second MLS, but was his career high in assists. I think that he needs, for the season to really be a success and the Fire to achieve what they're hoping to achieve this year, he probably needs to at least match that goal total and assist total for like his personal best in each, if not exceed both. And so I think we'll see if that happens.
We will see.
I also feel like with Orhel, Alex himself even put in a post, what was it, in January, that there's a chance Orhel leaves the team, and now it looks like he may be challenging for a starting spot.
Yeah. And so, like, I know that a number of players have been injured so far this preseason. We expect most of them back, a couple not. You want to go through that really quickly, Alan? Or
yeah, so in terms of like who we're expecting in and out, sort of, Pareba, it did leave with a torn ACL during a training session. He's most likely out for the season already, which is just really unfortunate. Chase Gasper is also out with an injury that happened before preseason. We don't have an ETA. Marin Haile Selassie has also been training alone for the most part due to injury. Pineda also has some sort of injury, and Hugo Kuipers, he had some sort of knock, but would be ready for the season opener in Columbus.
Yeah. A really tough knock for Pareba, because I think that he was in a position where he was making a good case that he belonged in the first team. He's got a first team deal after, basically defeating MLS Next Pro on like the highest difficulty settings, coming out with a golden boot and league MVP. But, unfortunately that's going to have to wait another year, and that's going to be challenging for him. But he's a very mature guy, especially for someone his age. And so I think that he's got the mentality to come through it stronger. It's tough luck for him and tough luck for the Fire, because I think that they could have really used some of what he was able to bring, and also maybe his ability to push people for minutes, that, so that everyone had to be on their toes and be bringing their best. Otherwise, having good options behind them is never a bad thing, but not to be for this year, unfortunately, or at least the majority of the season. It hasn't been officially announced as a season ending injury yet.
Which I hope that means that Prey will be given a chance next year to actually show his stuff.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
Amen, I say to that. Alrighty dighty. So, any other? Yes.
Last programming note, I think, is just, we're going to be back on your feeds next week with our complete season preview. We're trying to figure out exactly what format that's going to take, and hopefully we'll be able to do something fun and engaging with all of it. So make sure to check that out. I mean, it's going to be a fun season. I think a lot of people just that were hanging out in some capacity, talking or in group chats with me or whatever during the San Jose game seem to be having a really good time, and that's something that we didn't get enough of last year. And hopefully that's just the start of things to come.
The start of a beautiful, beautiful new season, hopefully.
I'm looking forward to it.
Amen, I say to that. So, any last words of wisdom for our lovely lovelies of the fire before we say adieu?
Always remember, do not trust a wizard that has fireball.
I'm surprised that DJ, you didn't say anything about saying something negative to Alan about speaking French. So that shows personal growth. I think maybe you've got a soft spot for Suke.
Listen, I have an ancestry kit right here next to me. I'm going to be taking an ancestry test, and I know I have French in me, so I'm trying to not jinx it by finding out that I'm mostly French.
You'll have to find other reasons to be self-loathing.
Oh no, my ancestry is English and French and German. All my ancestors hated each other, so that explains a lot.
All right, well, this has been fun, everyone.
Yep, this has been fun. Well, I, as always, have been Alan, the Pole with the Goal, joined by DJ and Tim. Until next time, come on, you men in red.